So, Coach, you can lead us off and give us a kind of an update, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, we took it outside for scrimmage number 2 today. We actually I give a lot of credit to our support staff, personnel in the building, and bottom line, our players. We moved it up almost an hour and a half. We thought some weather was coming in. A little bit got on the back end, but guys adjusted. Everybody made it work. Went out in the stadium. We got another nice, good scrimmage day in. Came out of it completely healthy. A couple guys banged up, but they were really, I thought, a great indication of what we saw today was what we saw Thursday. Probably had one of our more productive practices on Thursday in the elements, which was really a positive thing. Today we actually worked, all phases of the game. So in the kicking game, we worked field goal block, punt return, and then on offense we worked situational football, first, second, third down, red area, and then at the end, the second half was all move the ball. We had a Big Ten officiating crew out there, so they were able to experience that as well. Just a lot of positives. Obviously, a lot that we got to correct, but just like 3 things. I like the way this group works. They continue to buy in to keep stacking days. They, again, I really stressed to them at the end of today's practice that I wasn't at all surprised by what I saw today because of what I saw Thursday, just to reinforce to them, if you keep putting them together and try to refrain from those days when we step back, good things will happen. And then third thing, probably the biggest thing is, we're all in this together. We got to play complementary football. How our guys play offense, defense, special teams affects the whole picture. So even on today's when we're like scrimmaging, really trying to make them all understand the total buy-in. And then before I forget, also JC Uri, one of our strength coaches who's really kind of taken the room by storm. A guy we brought in from West Point is actually getting married today. Him and his wife, Erica. Very special day. So we sent out a little video to them and give a shout out to them on a new step in life together, and very, very excited for them and their family.
I'll lead her off. Hey, Bret, we want to go keep in the strength department and ask you about Tank. It seems like a lot of people have some pretty good things to say about him. What makes him different or unique or special to be able to captivate that room like he's been able to?
Well, I always say this: volume reflects confidence, right? When you speak loudly, it's because you're confident in what you're doing. And Tank is a very powerful speaker. What he speaks, what he says to our players, and what he shows them, I think they've learned very quickly, speaks volumes to what they can be. And whether it's new, old, in between, it's definitely caught the players' attention. I knew it would. That's why I made the hire. I like the fact that last year he actually went on the field and coached a defensive line position, because it really gave him a perspective now that we have as coaches that helps him be an even better strength coach. So it's kind of really the perfect storm. He was a special addition when we hired him back at my previous institution. He had played there and it meant a lot to him. And then I saw his growth at Michigan. I saw what they thought of him. And more than anything, I saw the people talk about him. I heard reflection of players when I was with the Patriots and the Giants. I would interview Michigan players and they would talk about the effect Tank had on them individually in that room. So I knew going into it, this would be a great addition. Probably the part that's been the most rewarding for me is a lot of my assistants had no idea who he was or what he was. A couple of them have been around him at Arkansas, but I would say universally on my entire staff, they feel that Tank is probably one of the biggest hires that we've made in this building, and couldn't agree more. Him and his family have been a great addition, and I'll give a lot of credit back to Tank. I gave him some names, some common people that we worked together to hire, but those 4 assistant coaches he brought in as well, and his strength staff have been his agenda, and they've been a home run hire so far.
Awesome. Thanks, Bret. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, obviously you put 4 guys on scholarship this week that had not been on scholarship before. One of them, Taylon Lindsey, he spoke with us and told an incredible story of sleeping in his car, having a 6-month-old daughter, and some other details. On an emotional level, what's it mean to you to see a player who cares that much about his family and all those kind of things be rewarded like that?
Well, you always learn more from your players, and all 4 of those guys, earn that scholarship opportunity for a reason. They embody everything we talk about here, and smart, tough, smart, dependable players. He's obviously icing on the cake. I can't stress enough that, we all love to win games. We all are in this, to win Big Ten championships and everything that goes in between. But one of the greatest rewards of coaching is getting to know these guys on a personal level, seeing the rewards. The reaction from our guys in that team meeting on Tuesday was probably one of the warmest moments I felt in for definitely my 13 years as a head coach, and I would say 28 years in the profession, just the genuineness of that moment. Talon is obviously very special. I learned a lot about him as well. He came out at birth with a struggle and a fight and came out on top. I've made the comments, I was born with chicken pox, came out swinging as well. So we have a common denominator just kind of in how things are. And then I told all those guys when I gave them that scholarship, I started as a walk-on. I know how much this day means to you. So yeah, it's very special. I can't put it in words.
And then I wanted to follow up. Having a 6-month-old daughter, I mean, scholarship, he said, is going to help him a lot. As someone who cares a lot about family, I mean, you've made it the slogan of your program on social media. Just what's it mean to you to be able to see a player start to build his own family? You spoke about it with Vidarian Lowe, but I speak on it here as well, I guess.
Well, to be quite honest, I didn't have my first child until I was 47. So I can't imagine having a child at that age without responsibilities and everything. And I distinctly remember walking into that team meeting the day after Penn State and seeing, I didn't even know who Talon was, and see him sitting there with a child in his arms in a team meeting, just kind of gave me an indication of what it meant to him. So, yeah, he's going to be a great father. He's going to be a great person for that, for his daughter to be involved with on a daily basis. And, the other guy that jumps out to me that, the love that Velo shows for his kids and how he represents his family. I think we got a lot of that in this building. And to be quite honest, if we have a lot of that, I can get the football side of it right. I don't know how long it's going to take or where we can be, but there's definitely a lot of positives going in the right direction.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex.
With a little over 1 more week left for spring practice, do you feel that your team is right where you want them to be before the spring game, or do you feel like you're more ahead of schedule?
Yeah, I understand the question, but yeah, we are where we are. There's definitely some things as I reflect back, I wish we could have pushed forward a little bit more, but with this group, I think we have to understand baby steps are important, right? Before we can begin to walk or even run, we have to learn the steps to get to where we need to be. And it was, I just kind of took it back to ground zero. We kind of went back to that even last week. No disrespect to where we were, just it wasn't where we needed to be. So I kind of wanted to go back and start again, and they've responded very, very well. We've got 3 weeks behind us. Can't do anything about that. We got 2 weeks in front of us. We can't do a lot about that. So that's where our focus lies. I stress to our guys all the time, the one common denominator everybody in this world shares is time. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have, you can't buy time or go back. All right. All you have to do is live in the moment of the results you've got and move forward. So we're going to move forward with these next 2 weeks. Next week's a very important week to get to Monday night, and we'll take it day by day.
Coach, where are you at quarterback right now? Is it a guy starting to separate a little bit, or do you see kind of the worst situation? You kind of talked some about this, but tell me a little more detail about that.
Yeah, quarterback play is essential for a football team, not just offensively, but a quarterback. In my thinking, all right, it's kind of like when I go out and recruit high school quarterbacks and I talk to them and their parents. I say one common element that a quarterback shares with a coach, a head coach in particular, is many times you get way too much credit when things go well, and many times you take the shots for things that don't go well. As a head coach, I'm going to take every one of those shots. That's my responsibility. Quarterback play is just as much importance for me as a head coach to deliver as anything else. So I'll always defray that to me, and I'm very, very upfront and honest with that to our recruits as we're going. As far as our current players, just like our first string quarterback or our first string Mike linebacker or our first string corner, they're all important. I understand the focus of quarterback, but they're getting better. Every one of them that's been taking reps, all 5 guys, is better today than we were in day one. And certain guys continue to take a step forward, some better than others maybe, but we definitely have tried to move the guys along that were responding well and put them in a position to continue to grow. If things haven't been going well, we've been trying to, bring those guys along, but there's a lot of learning that has to take place. And unfortunately, there's not enough time in a day, right? I wish I could get every one of them 50 to 75 reps a day, but that's just not possible in the way the NCAA rules allow us to rep things right now. So we've kind of begun to, rep the guys that we see moving forward and minimize the guys that haven't. And we'll kind of stay down that process till we get to the spring game on the 19th and obviously next fall.
One more thing, would you consider adding a grad transfer quarterback during the summer, or spring or summer? Is that something in your wheelhouse or something you think about, or no?
Yeah, since I've been here, we made some grad transfers before spring ball. Guys were able to join us. Prather, Hudson, Prather, and Chase Hayden. But we've continued to work and recruit the grad transfer portal. We have looked at grad transfer quarterbacks, but as of right now, haven't gone down that road. We kind of made a decision as a staff before we started spring ball. We were where we are as a staff with our roster, especially with the grad transfer world. As we go through spring ball, if we saw some obvious areas that we needed to fulfill, we might add a few grad transfers. But right now, I think we're just sitting steady where we are from a quarterback standpoint, and we'll see what kind of comes out of the back end of spring ball. Not only for us, but also, grad transfers. There's a lot of things that happen post spring on each individual campus across the country.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey, Bret, kind of have an off-the-wall recruiting question a little bit, but wanted to see if you had any thoughts on it. We've talked quite a bit recently about Caleb Griffin and obviously his talents for more than just kicking. Blake Hayes has kind of shown some of that as well. How have you seen in your years coaching the recruitment of specialists and trying to draw quality kickers to college teams change, if at all? Have you seen that change in any way over the years?
Yeah, I partnered very early on with Jamie Cole, both at Wisconsin and at Arkansas. Jamie's a very well-known kicking specialist that I had developed a relationship with during the phases of the specialist camp, and partnered with him on our special teams camp. So we've really partnered with him, but I've done everything really, to be quite honest, Colin. We've done guys that we had preferred walk-ons become our starters. We had scholarship players that became our starters. Really have, as a standard, kept 3 scholarships of the 85 reserved for specialists. So your starting punter, kicker, and long snapper. At times it's been under that and over it. So it's really just kind of a work in progress where you're at, and kind of where the field is. Now you throw in that, the added COVID world that we're in, we have basically, a couple specialists that are really all 3 of the starting specialists right now are all, super seniors, guys that have come back that normally would have had to move on. So however you want to look at it, it's kind of a unique world right now, but specialists in general, I think they're very, very important, as we all call them. They're very special people, but it's a unique recruiting process, kind of convenient or kind of independent of every year.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Coach, I know there's rules around talking about commitments. I'm unsure. Are you able to talk about the recent grad transfer that announced, or is that paperwork have to be processed for that?
NCAA wise, you can comment on a prospect once they've signed basically a legal binding document. Like if a high school player signs an NLI or anything along that lines. Grad transfer is a little bit different because they actually have to be on your campus enrolled in admitted school. So I don't know what you're referring to, but I appreciate the question, but you can't comment about guys that aren't here.
Got it. That answers my question. So my main question was on the walk-ons going on scholarship. I know every coach handles this differently. Some coaches, when they move a walk-on to scholarship, it's a one-year thing. And sometimes it's just a semester thing. Sometimes it's, I'm going to put you on scholarship for the rest of your eligibility. Can you talk about how you handle that? Is it individual? Is it per player? How do you go about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. There are a lot of rules that, the general public may or may not be aware of. So the guys that I put on scholarship had been in the program for more than 2 semesters. So it's legal to put them on scholarship, and it counts forward. It doesn't count backwards. So it doesn't take an initial, which is a really big deal in recruiting. And then my policy is basically this: if you even when I was put on scholarship, it's something that's kind of carried forward as a scholarship player that you add as a bonus, right? So a non-scholarship player that becomes full, it's on a 1-year basis, renewable basis. And I was very upfront with the guys that I put on that was, through the spring of this year, retroactive. It went all the way back to the beginning of this. I couldn't ask for it to go back past since I've been here, but it's in that spring semester and summer, and then we'll address where we are scholarship count in the fall.
So in that sense, my secondary question to that was how that applies to there's no scholarship limit next year, in that some of these you could then extend in the same way that, super seniors don't count against it. Does it work in that way?
Yeah, well, there are some rules. The super senior rule does obviously change the recruiting numbers, but as far as the number of players we can add on to scholarship, it definitely affects that. So there are limitations that we go forward. To answer your first question, like that directly affects where we're at right now, right? So there is a couple of those guys that are bonus seniors, but there's some that have 2 years remaining eligibility and et cetera. So each case is a little bit different. But even when I put JJ Watt on, right? So I've had some really good former walk-ons. JJ, Jared Abadaris, Brady Ewing was a 4th-round pick, I believe, to the Atlanta Falcons fullback. Ricky Wagner was a 5th-round pick to the Baltimore Ravens, who went on to be one of the highest-paid tackles in the NFL. So every guy, even in my past, I put on just a 1-year scholarship, and they earn it every year. So it's just kind of the policy I've always played out.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Fred, have you decided how you want to do the game on the 19th? Meaning, ones on ones, ones on twos. How do you want to manipulate the game? Do you want to have a red zone section? Have you figured out how you want to do that in 9 days?
Yeah, Matt, the intention is to play just a traditional Monday night football game. To be honest, we're going to go out there. It'll be our best against the best, offensively against the best, against the defensive best. And also the possibility, just based on numbers, that might be ones against everybody else or our best against everybody else, and you can spot the score. What I'm trying to do is get to probably Friday of this week, Friday, Saturday, see where we are depth chart wise. We were very fortunate today, didn't have any significant injuries. So if we stay on a path of being pretty healthy, which we've been on, we'll try to be as competitive as we can. But it'll be basically a normal football game that everybody's accustomed to watching as a football fan. There won't be any stoppage of play. We might do a little continuous clock to fill the 2-hour segment the Big Ten Network gave us, but I went to them basically asking to, give us a block of time that would give us a national audience, and that's what we've got, and trying to deliver as great a product as we can, have a little bit of fun along the way, and see how good a football team we got.
And Brett, my only other question was, when I did the transcript of our last Zoom with you, you mentioned a player who had transferred and then might want to come back. Obviously, without mentioning any names, has that situation been resolved from your end, or are you still recruiting and contacting that player?
No, we have a lot of different scenarios playing out. I think just with this whole new world of transfer portal and we've had different scenarios play out in front of us. I think the part that we always have to, it's not what you expect, it's the unexpected. And unfortunately, a lot of times in recruiting, a lot of people say some things that don't materialize, or they say things in recruiting that they believe a young man wants to hear to get him to go where they want to be. And I always stress to our coaches, right, and to our recruits, and we've been on Zoom calls, like, learned early on in life, all right, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said. I'm never going to say anything to a recruit that's not true to get him to come here, and then the reality of it never materialized because it couldn't.
Right.
I think honesty is the best policy, and everybody kind of has to live their own way. But in recruiting for us, and I'm very direct with our assistant coaches, all of our recruiting personnel, be completely honest, up forward, and real, because if you say something that's not real, a lot of times it's going to come back to get you. We'll just continue to operate that way, and I think people gravitate to that, especially in today's world.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Coach while we have him? I see no others lined up. Coach, have a great Sunday or Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. Joey Wagner's ready to go on to his Saturday night festivities. So we'll lock it down. Thanks, Coach.
I appreciate it. You guys are easy. You guys have a great weekend. Stay safe.
Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Enjoy your weekend.